Dear audience, this is Morten from INKISH TV, and yeah, we are getting around the world. I have been talking to people in India, and Friday I'm talking to people from San Diego, and today I have a stopover on Iceland, and I'm talking to my good friend Ingi Karlsson. So welcome to my channel, Ingi. How are you today?
I am pretty good. Thank you so much.
And I got to know you from LinkedIn, like so many other people get to know each other
Yeah,
from these
yeah.
channels. And I have been following you for some time because you have a specific interest in colors, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do on Iceland?
Yeah, of course. My background is, I am an offset printer. I worked as an offset printer for 20 years or so. And my special interest during my career as an offset printer was basically in mixing colors. I was fortunate enough to find the right niche for myself. I was always interested in colors, Pantone colors mostly. So that's where I specialized. And basically, towards the end of around 2000, I came across a certain problem with my beloved Pantone colors, which I, of course, like very much to this day. But the problem is simply that we have, today we have like 90% CMYK jobs and maybe like 10% Pantone jobs.
Yeah.
And the
I think
problem is,
I think a
yeah,
lot of printers can recognize what you're talking about, because I
yeah,
think that
yeah, I'm
more and
sure.
more is going to, and every time a new printer is, especially digital printer, is introduced, they always talk about a broader gamut because they want to cover as many Pantones as possible, right? So I guess that you are totally right in that perspective.
Yeah, yeah, but as I said, even if we have extended gamut today, we have 7-color. Yes, the technology is there, but still 90% of the printing presses are still CMYK. We are still stuck with CMYK
Yeah.
for newspapers, for magazines, etc., and even for letterheads and whatever you need, your office material. And the problem I came across, is that you cannot print Pantone colors properly in CMYK. It's that easy. Another issue or problem that I at least felt it was a problem was that the same Pantone color doesn't print the same on coated and uncoated paper. So being a bit of a perfectionist as a printer, at least, this annoyed me because my view on color is that if you are a customer and you pick out a color, it should be my job as a professional to keep your color visually consistent, whether you're printing on coated or uncoated paper.
Just a short question before we move
Yeah.
on. Wasn't that the intention when Pantone introduced the Pantone Plus, that you don't have the same formula necessarily for coated and uncoated paper, but you wanted to have a closer visual impression of the Pantone representation?
I believe if you look at do you have a recent Pantone guide?
I have it in my office, but I am stuck home because of Corona, so
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, I believe the recipes are still the same for uncoated and coated. It is possible that they made some alterations to their the color bridge, the CMYK guides of Pantone, where they tried to adopt basically both coated and uncoated to, I think the idea was to try to adapt it better to the RGB value
Yeah.
of that Pantone color, but I'm not quite sure actually. I may be wrong.
That's okay,
But but
but I was just wondering, because since you experienced what you just said about colors not looking the same on coated and uncoated paper, that was
yeah,
one of the reasons why you got into developing a system that actually is able to be reproduced similar on both coated and uncoated stock. But and just before we go into the details about that system, just please continue with your story, because working as an offset printer and moving into color, I think that your company also in Iceland is also specialized in colors and color management and ICC profiles and things like that. Is that true?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So that is how you got into also speculating about solutions for the problem that you have identified.
Yeah, and also, well, this is one part. This is just the way the Pantone matching system is built. And it was fine back in 1960. If you the idea was simply that a printer in New York could print the same color on the same paper as the printer in Düsseldorf, for instance.
Yeah.
It wasn't that was the idea, and it worked. But now in our times, we have a completely different world. This is the world of multiple media.
Yeah.
We have the internet, and even if we just let's just take printing and just hold the internet for a while.
Yeah.
Around 2000, when everybody started printing in CMYK, and it was all of a sudden it was cheaper to print a CMYK job than, for instance, a 2-color Pantone job.
Yeah. Which was not the case when you had 2-color machines, of course, but with the faster setup times, better plates, better screening methods, and 4-color presses, of course, that changed a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. It changed the game overnight, basically. Around, I think it was around 2000, on a worldwide basis.
Yeah.
But what unfortunately happened at the same time, when designers switched from printing Pantone colors because it was cheaper to print in CMYK, it seems the world just forgot to think about what happens to a Pantone color when you convert it automatically to CMYK. And it seems that nobody cared, except maybe, well, I did, because I was seeing this in my own press room, that the precious Pantone brand colors were just being, screwed up.
Flattened out. Yeah.
Flattened out, and they were completely different in CMYK.
And I think that what you're talking about is also the fact that even some of the modern or the younger generations of designers as well, they use only electronic designs today. They use Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign and use maybe even the RGB palette for even creating print jobs. So what I take that you're saying is basically also that all the entire color space is under some kind of pressure, because how do you recognize and identify? Because if you have Pantone color, whatever X021 for orange, for example, then you don't have a similar system for CMYK values. Was that some of the reasons for also inventing SMS?
Well, that was not the idea when I started working on the SMS system. It actually, you may not believe this, but I started working on this system in 2003.
Okay, that's
so
a long
it
time.
has been quite a long time, with some stops, I admit, but back then I was simply involved in this. I wanted to create a new color palette for designers, which, number one, it was supposed to, you should be able to print the same color on coated and uncoated paper. So visually, we want the same color on coated paper and uncoated paper. These basic 2 types of paper that you usually use. That was number 1, 2, and 3, actually. Then, of course, there was the matter. Back then, I was thinking about it should be possible to print in CMYK or as a spot color. So you should be able to pick your SMS color and print it in CMYK or as a spot color.
Okay, so there was a match also at that time with the PMS color. So you could pick So you said that instead of adapting the PMS color space, you basically said that, okay, we have this number of PMS colors, Pantone colors that matches the SMS colors, right?
Actually, I was not thinking about basically matching to Pantone,
Okay, but I thought you said that the Pantone colors was part of the SMS system when you started it. So I was just wondering if you wanted, because I think that because now we're starting talking about the SMS system anyway, and I was just thinking that maybe for people to understand what we're talking about, basically SMS is similar like the swatch book that you know from the Pantone colors. But what you have done is you have, I don't know if you've tested it or it's scientifically proven, but you have made a swatch book that basically show, is it 144 colors or how many colors is it?
500.
Oh, sorry, forgot that. 500 colors that you warrant that they work on the substrates that they are printed on in both coated and uncoated paper, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a tool for designers. So instead of picking a Pantone color, if they pick a SMS color, they can get the same representation every time they produce something that is printed in CMYK.
Yeah, on coated paper and on uncoated paper, but which is quite important today because, of course, we have social media, we have the web, we have video. You can also actually reproduce all SMS colors for any display. So basically, I can send you any SMS color. I can send it to your smartphone, and you can actually evaluate it on your smartphone.
Okay, so just to understand that, so let's just recap a little bit. So basically, you identified the problem being a printer yourself, that it was sometimes impossible to get accurate representation of PMS colors in your CMYK press, and then you started working a long time ago on actually finding out what colors could be reproduced on both coated and uncoated stock. And now also taking that to the extent of what's possible to reproduce electronically. So is that, 500 colors is a lot, but it's still not a very high number compared to the number of Pantone colors. And I don't question that 500 shouldn't be enough, but I was more wondering if you look at the SMS colors, is that basically that if you take the entire color gamut and you basically say that, okay, this is the Fogra color space for a CMYK machine, and this is the color space for the RGB, and then you basically take that complementary set of colors, and then you define the colors from that complementary selection. Or how does it work?
Basically, I take those colors that are common among all those color spaces. sRGB is for displays, of course, any display. The Fogra, Fogra 51 and Fogra 52, Fogra 39 and Fogra 47. And actually Gracol as well for my American friends, if they need it. I find out which colors are common among those color spaces. I pick out those colors and I create my color palette. That's it.
Okay.
Basically,
If we look at it from let's say that the customers that your target is that basically the designers and the people that create the pre-press jobs, or who is the primary target group for this product?
Well, basically it is, the main and the most important target group for this system are, of course, the brand owners themselves. It's brand owners like you, for instance. You have a company and you have your logo. Most companies have their own logos, and even the smallest of companies, they can afford to pay 420 euros per year to have all their colors, up to 4 colors of your logo, completely managed. And that is what is included in our service. So it's the brand owners that are our essential goal. But of course, it is important to note that designers, of course, have to adapt to SMS and start using it, because if they refuse to use it, it is difficult to get to the brand owners, of course.
Of course. So, but I think from, I'm not a designer, but from a designer's perspective, especially if you have new customers and you have are designing new logos, it should be pretty easy to adapt to it, because it works the same way as when you're picking a Pantone color. You just pick another list of colors, basically, right?
Yeah, but it is actually much easier, because if you pick a Pantone color, then, you know, and if you say, okay, this is going to be the brand color for this customer X, let's say.
I like X. That's fine.
Yeah, and then you have to basically, and typically what designers do today, which is of course completely wrong. Technically, if you think about it, usually a customer will pick a Pantone coated color or colors first, and they will show this to the customer. The customer agrees because they are nice colors, right? Then the customer basically goes and he looks up the CMYK value from the color bridge guide of Pantone, the coated version, and they pick out the CMYK value, and they hang this onto each. So each Pantone color has a fixed CMYK value stuck to it, basically. The red one, the yellow one, and the green one, for instance. This basically means that, well, the CMYK colors, for each color, they will not look the same as the original Pantone color.
That's for sure. Yeah.
We know that from the start.
Yeah.
If they change from coated to uncoated paper,
it will change even more.
Get yet another variation.
Yeah.
You know, but if you pick SMS colors instead, they will always look exactly the same.
Yeah.
And every time you have a new job, you simply need to call Spot-Nordic, tell me what you need, what you're going to do. I'm going to print on this type of paper. The printer prints to this standard, or I can actually just contact the printer for you and get the information I need. And I provide you with exactly the correct variation for this job, for this printer. So you, as a designer, you can just focus on designing. You don't have to worry about the final result of the color.
Yeah. So just to summarize on my question about customers, so that is brand owners and designers who are the primary target, because I believe that, I mean, if you are a printer, you have like adapting to ISO standards or G7 standards, then you don't need to do anything, right? It's more question that it has a match from the designer according to those standards that you're using, right?
Yeah. A common reason for problems in print is that the designers don't know the print standard of the printer. It is an unbelievably typical scenario, whether you believe it or not. You know, it may be different in Denmark. I don't know.
I don't know either.
But but I hear this all the time. So basically, what we do at Spot-Nordic, I talk to the designer and I talk to the printer.
Yeah.
I know the standard of the printer, and I can communicate this information to the designer.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, sometimes, and in many cases, the printer is a little bit afraid to talk to the advertising agency, because they are concerned if they ask too many questions that the agency may go somewhere else and they may get annoyed, which is of course in 99% of all cases completely wrong. Yeah. Usually the agency is happy if the printer calls.
Yeah, because basically they want to ensure that everything they do from a brand consistency perspective is uniform throughout all the process. I think that you also know Michael Appelgaard from DMX in Denmark, right?
Michael, sorry, can you repeat?
Appelgaard. Okay, I thought we spoke about that earlier, because he is teaching on DMX in Denmark, and I attended a presentation he did for the Norwegian Printing Association. I think it was about 2 years ago, where he presented.
I got the name Appelgaard.
Yeah, precisely.
Appelgaard. Okay.
Yeah, because he I think he took some examples of very well recognized brands and measured the delta E's in how a fantastic widespread of color consistency they used, even for brands like Starbucks and Coca-Cola and some of the really, really big brands. And that, I think that's also because you touched a little bit upon it, that if you have sRGB, that's for screens, and you have CMYK for print, but you even have the different standards within the color science as well that you need to apply to. So when you do a design manual today, if you use PMS colors, if you use the color metrics for the design manuals, you need to specify also what color space you are working in, and that is also something that you don't need when you use the SMS colors, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you use the SMS colors, you only need to basically, well, your brand standard is simply you need to tell the world basically which SMS colors you are using. You don't need to mention standards. You don't need to mention even different media. You can simply say SMS number. It may be a standard SMS color. It may be a custom SMS color, because of course we are not completely set on using only these 500 colors.
No, because since you have the complementary group of colors in the gamut, you can basically pick anything inside that group. So when you decided on 500, that is because that is visually giving a wide spread of colors, and at the same time it relates to families that I think will complement each other, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we can tweak SMS colors, and you can, as a designer, you can even create your own SMS gradients if you like to use gradients in your work, Yeah. So no problem. But yeah, the brand manual will be simplified a lot if you use SMS colors, and you can even show your brand manual in sRGB on any display. So you can just send it and you can see it for yourself.
So the brand owners and the customers will even be able to see something that you don't even have to make a proof print of, because you will basically be ensuring that the sRGB output is the same as the paper output. Ingi, you've been working with this for a long time, and I know that you are extremely active promoting the SMS things, which I like. I think that's a very great drive you have on this one. But what is the future for alternative color spaces, and how is it? I mean, do you work with distributors, or you work with partners, or how do you get the message across to a bigger audience?
Well, I am basically today Spot-Nordic, which is my company, open to basically almost anything. I'm open for companies to resell, within their countries. Anything is up for discussion. I would definitely like to sell SMS in basically all countries of the world. And if there is a distributor out there or a reseller who would like to sell SMS, by all means, give me a call.
So I think that was a good ending of a nice conversation, I believe, because now everybody who's seeing this, you have an opportunity to make life easier for your customers when it comes to color and identity. And it seems that Ingi Karlsson from Spot-Nordic has done a lot of the work in advance. So I think that you should reach out to him. The contact details are here within the just on the page of INKISH, so reach out to him, and I know that he will be happy to give you further information. So thank you very much, Ingi.
Thank you. Bye-bye.